Get that.
Jai. Nice, Raj.
Jaya Radha Madhava
Evil.
Jaya Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giri Hari Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Jajanarandana Jai Vajajanarandana Shamana Kiravanatari Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamuna Kirvanakari Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunda Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jai Varadari Jasodanandana Jajanarandana Vajajanarandana Yamunakirvanakari Kunjavihari Yamunakirvanakari Kunjavihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjavihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radhe Shyam Krishna Balaram Radhe Shyam Jaya Krishna Balaram Gauranitai Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Oh no, Dam Vishnupad Paramahansa Vibhajagacharya Statara Satashi Shimareshi Bhakti Swami Prabhupada Nityali Rata Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahansa Vibhajagacharya Statara Satashi Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Ki Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Govindam Shamadan Radhakan Giri Govardhan Ki Mathura Vrindavan Ki My Pranavritam Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Goswami ki, all glory some devotees, all glory some devotees, glory some devotees, all glory Shigaram Granga Gopamanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So read Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 10. At least that's what.
Entonces vamos a leer el Bhagavad Gita, capítulo 4, texto 10.
Vitaraga, you guys have books there, I guess you know the verse.
Yeah.
Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Manupashito Bahavo Jnana Tapasam Putama Bhavamagatam Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmaya Manupashito Bahavo Jnana Tapasam Putama Bhavam Agatam. Being free from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, taking refuge in me. Many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me.
Estando liberadas del apego, el temor y la ira, estando totalmente absortas en mí y refugiándose en mí, muchísimas personas se purificaron en el pasado mediante el conocimiento acerca de mí. Y de ese modo, todas ellas alcanzaron el estado de amor trascendental por mí.
Okay, purport. As described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the supreme absolute truth.
Significado por Srila Prabhupada. Como se explicó anteriormente, a una persona que está demasiado afectada por lo material, le resulta muy difícil entender la naturaleza personal de la suprema verdad absoluta.
So, because it says above, so maybe we should look at the last purport.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that's what I said. But okay, so I'm looking at the last purport because Prabhupada is referring to that.
Yeah. Entonces vamos a referirnos al significado anterior porque Prabhupada lo está citando, hace referencia al significado anterior.
And this purport, which is a very famous verse, verse 9, the last section, he makes mention of what he's saying, because he's quoting the Upanishad that one can attain liberation simply by knowing the Lord, and there's no other way to achieve this perfection.
Entonces, Srila Prabhupada en este verso 4.9, muy conocido, está citando en el significado el Suetat Upanishad, diciendo que de la única manera que se puede lograr la perfección es conociendo al Señor, a la Suprema Personalidad de Dios.
And that's Sweta Svatara verse. Tam eva vidit bhati mrityong eki nanyapamta vidit ayanaya. Na anya means there's no other, pamta means path, like the path to achieve this. Okay,
Entonces
so,
en el verso se señala eso de que no hay otro sendero para lograr eso.
so Prabhupada's again saying there's no alternative, that anyone who does not understand Krishna is surely in the mode of ignorance and he will not attain salvation.
Entonces, si la Prabhupada señala que es seguro que el que está sumido en la modalidad de la ignorancia no obtendrá la salvación.
And Prabhupada is comparing that to licking the outer surface of the bottle of honey.
Entonces, Prabhupada lo compara con lamer la superficie exterior de una botella de miel.
Right. So by it's funny because quite some time ago I had to do a whole bunch of paintings for when they had a CD, it was a DVD, and I had to, this is one of the pictures I did of the licking the bottle of honey. And I showed a guy like licking the bottle, actually licking the bottle of the honey. So for me, it's funny, you know, and now it's very funny.
Es curioso y divertido que hace poco tuve que hacer una serie de pinturas para un DVD que se estaba produciendo y entre ellas hice ese tema de alguien lamiendo la botella de miel por fuera.
And this analogy Prabhupada took from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati may have also heard it from somebody else. I don't know.
Si la Prabhupada tomó esta analogía, la escuchó de su maestra espiritual, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, y es posible que él la haya escuchado a su vez de alguna otra persona, no sé.
So he's comparing this to the empiric philosophers. And these empiric philosophers, they think they're very important, but they're not necessarily eligible for liberation.
Esta filosofía es la de viene de los filósofos empíricos, que en realidad ellos no son elegibles para la liberación.
Yes, and he says again, such puffed up mundane scholars have to wait for the causeless mercy of the devotee of the Lord.
Y también indica que estos eruditos engreídos deben esperar a que les llegue la misericordia sin causa del devoto del Señor.
This reminds me of one verse that Prabhupada quotes in, I think it's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhaktisiddhanta quotes, or Tavad Vimukta Padavi, Tavad Bhakti Kata Vimukta Padavi. This is a verse by famous Prabodhananda Saraswati, you know, the great uncle of Raghunath Das Goswami, this verse. And in that verse, as he says, as long as, in several verses, but that one reminds me, as long as they're speaking such nonsense, these empirical, they're like frogs croaking.
Este verso acá me recuerda a un verso citado en el Chaitanya Charitamrita, donde se dice que estos filósofos empíricos son como ranas croando, invitando a la muerte.
And he, in the verse, he describes them just like kalakalaho means like just like a big noise of a frog. And so in the final, he says that as long as they don't surrender to a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then they have to keep on talking all day. So they have to get the association of a devotee of Lord Chaitanya.
Entonces, él dice que mientras estos filósofos continúen simplemente hablando, pues así van a seguir hasta que finalmente se rindan a un devoto de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And this frog analogy to me became very clear when I was in Mayapur in 1974.
Esta analogía de la rana para mí se hizo muy clara cuando yo estuve en Mayapur en 1974.
Because in those days there was only one building and all surrounded by fields, and the frogs, there were many hundreds of frogs. When they come out at night, they would croak very loud, big frog. It was like deafening sound.
En esos tiempos, pues solamente había un edificio allí en Mayapur y estábamos rodeados de campos de arroz y en la noche se escuchaban todas esas ranas que croaban con su boca bien grande. Crack, crack, crack.
Very, very loud. So that's leading us into this purport. So he's referring to that. Okay.
Entonces esto nos lleva a este significado al que Prabhupada hacía referencia.
All right. So, as described above. So, then now we're going on in this purpose. The people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism, it is almost impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person.
Por lo general, la gente que está pegada a la concepción corporal de la vida se encuentra tan absorta en el materialismo que les resulta prácticamente imposible entender que el Supremo puede ser una persona.
They cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body which is imperishable.
Ellos no pueden ni siquiera imaginarse que existe un cuerpo trascendental que es imperecedero,
full of knowledge and eternally blissful.
lleno de conocimiento y eternamente y dichoso eternamente.
In the material concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable.
En el concepto materialista, el cuerpo es perecedero, está colmado de ignorancia y es completamente desdichado.
Therefore, people in general keep the same bodily idea in their mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord.
Por lo tanto, cuando a la generalidad de la gente se le informa de la forma personal del Señor, mantienen en su mente esa misma idea corporal.
For such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme.
Para estos hombres materialistas, la forma de la gigantesca manifestación material es lo supremo.
Consequently, they consider the supreme to be impersonal.
En consecuencia, ellos consideran que el supremo es impersonal.
And because they're too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining personality after liberation from matter frightens them.
Y como están demasiado absortos en lo material, los asusta el concepto de retener la personalidad después de liberarse de la materia.
When they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming a person again. So they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void.
Cuando se les informa que la vida espiritual también es individual y personal, sienten temor de volverse personas de nuevo, a raíz de lo cual prefieren naturalmente una especie de fusión con el vacío impersonal.
So the verse is saying vita, which means free from raga, fear, and attachment, fear, and anger. So in this purport, then he's also talking about this fear of first they're too attached. The first one, he said they're too attached to their body, material body. The second one, bhaya, means fear. So they're fearful. They don't want to become a person. And then again, now he talks about anger. So here, let's see what it says. Generally, they compare living entities to bubbles in the ocean, which merge into the ocean. This is the highest perfection of a spiritual existence, attainable without individual personality.
Ellos suelen equiparar a las entidades vivientes como las burbujas del océano, las cuales se funden en el océano. Esa es la máxima perfección de la existencia espiritual que se logra sin personalidad individual.
This is the kind of fearful stage of life, devoid of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence.
Esta es una especie de etapa aterradora de la vida desprovista del conocimiento perfecto de la existencia espiritual.
Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all, being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions and various types of philosophical speculation. They are disgusted or angry, and they foolishly conclude there's no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void.
Además, hay muchas personas que no pueden entender en absoluto la existencia espiritual, agobiadas por muchísimas teorías y contradicciones de diversos tipos de especulación filosófica, se hastían o se disgustan y concluyen neciamente que no hay ninguna causa suprema y que en definitiva todo es un vacío.
Such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached. They don't give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge, and some of them disbelieve everything.
Algunas personas están demasiado apegadas a lo material y por consiguiente no le prestan atención a la vida espiritual. Otras quieren fundirse en la suprema causa espiritual y otras no creen en nada.
The last class of men, they're angry at all spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. The last class take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their effective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual visions.
Entonces, ya que por desesperación están disgustadas con toda clase de especulaciones espirituales, esta última clase de hombres se refugia en alguna clase de embriagante y sus alucinaciones sentimentales se aceptan a veces como visión espiritual.
So in this first line of this verse is in the second chapter also, where it says, there's about 7 or 8 verses in a row that describes a stitidir muni, or is it actually like a devotee, and he is free from these 3 things, whereas other munis may not be free. So the same exact line is there.
Entonces,
yeah, the same.
Esta línea acá está también, se hace referencia a ella en una secuencia de versos del segundo capítulo, donde se explica que el devoto está libre del apego, el temor y la ira.
I can tell you this exact verse, 56 in chapter 2. Dukesh anubhignamana sukeshu vigatas priha vitaragabaya kroda stitide munirutite. So, but this is in other places, we hear all about raga, baya, kroda, but this is the only purport that describes this type 3, this 3 different ways. This purport is very unique. It's a unique purport.
Entonces, en el 256 se mencionan estas 3 cosas, el raga, baya y kroda, pero solo en este significado que estamos viendo ahora se explica en detalle. Esto es un significado muy único.
For instance, in the 5th chapter, again, we hear kama kroda vimuktanam yatinam yatachetasam. So and that is another way of describing this kama kroda, but the general idea is to become free of it. But kama kroda vimuktanam yatinam yatachetasam abito brahma nirvanam. Abito, very soon, if one becomes free of these things, he can realize the absolute brahma nirvanam richate. So,
entonces, en el tercer capítulo también se hace referencia a estas 3 cosas, pero la esencia es que hay que liberarse de ellas. Entonces dice que brevemente uno entonces obtendrá el absoluto.
In the 5th chapter also, several verses are talking about this. For instance, we have this verse, Kama Krod Bhavam Begam. We know this word, Bacho Begam, from the Upadeshamrita. So this word appears in relation here also. Verse 23 in the 5th chapter, Kama Kroda Bhavam. Again, Kama Kroda. It doesn't mention the fear factor so much, but it mentions Kama Kroda. Kama Kroda Bhavam Begam Sikha. So in this 5th chapter, it says, before giving up the body, one must tolerate the urges and check this force of desire and anger and then he will be happy in this world.
Entonces, en el 5.23 también se hace referencia a esto, donde dice que antes de abandonar el cuerpo, uno debe de detener o poner bajo control el temor y la ira.
Kama Asia, Krota Asia. In the 4th chapter, it's also mentioned again later. That's the 3rd chapter. Kama. So in all these chapters, we're hearing about Kama, Krota, and that we have to give it up. Kama, Krota. Usually, if there's Kama, then there's Krota, and there's Raga. Raga means attachment. So instead of attachment, instead of raga, many other words are used for attachment also. There are other words, but in this verse it's raga. So
entonces, estas tres cosas se mencionan en otros capítulos. El apego, el temor y la ira, aunque a veces varían las palabras, pero es el mismo tema que hay que abandonarlos.
Prabhupada used to quote one verse, Kamadinam Yati Katinam Kamadinam Katida Palita Dorni Desha. So in that verse, it's given in Chaitanya Charitamrita that that we're taking directions from our senses, and because of that, we're full of calm. And this verse is a prayer, and the devotee is saying that I have no idea how many times I am taking directions from my senses. For millions of years, millions of lifetimes, I've been getting this bad advice from my senses. But we must take advice from the Parampara, from Bhagavad Gita, from Krishna, from the Acharyas, not from our own senses.
Entonces, en el Chaitanya Charitamrita también se menciona esto. Un devoto está orando y dice, por miles y miles de vidas he estado tomando consejos, recibiendo consejos de mis sentidos y no de la sucesión discipular. Entonces uno debe de superar esa condición y tomar el consejo de la fuente correcta.
Kama dinam katina katida palita duination. Tejam jata mayina karana no prapa no prashanti. In the second line, there's a lot of instruction where the verse says that Tejam jata mayina karana, that there's so many of these desires are being born again and again, like over and over, calm, so many lusty desires. And so they're saying that they don't give me any peace by having all those desires. They give no peace, no pashanti. Like shanti means peace. You don't get peace by getting more and more desires.
Entonces dice que fruto de todos estos deseos, uno entonces no recibe paz, no tiene paz, sino que
we can find that in the end of the 2nd chapter of the Gita, in the verse 70, it's a very nice verse. This is verse 70 in the 5th chapter, in the 2nd chapter. That a person who's not disturbed by all this incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, it's always being full. He alone achieves peace. Shanti apnoti, not kamakami, one who wants to always try to fill his desires.
Entonces en el 270 del Bhagavad Gita también se menciona que solamente una persona que permanece en paz, así como el océano al que entran todos los ríos, entonces solo ese puede alcanzar la paz.
And the next verse reinforces the same thing. Vihaya kaman, giving up all kama. Nirmamo nirahankara sashanti madhigachiti. That nirmamo nirahankara, these are famous terms. Nirmamo means nothing is mine, and without any false ego. Ahankara. Ahankara means I do. Ahang means I, and kara means to do. So when you're ahankara, you always think you're the doer.
Entonces, en el verso siguiente se menciona cómo el que entiende que no es el que es el origen de las actividades, puede entonces alcanzar la paz.
And so we go back here to this, our verse, and keep reading. Let's see. And let's see, we're up to purport. Okay. So I'm going to read this a little bit. Prabhupada saying we have to get rid of all these three stages of one has to get rid of all three stages of attachment, negligence of spiritual life, and fear of personal identity, and the conception of the void that arises from frustration in life.
Entonces uno debe de liberarse, desapegarse del origen de estos tres problemas, del apego, la ira y el concepto de uno ser el que hace las actividades.
And to get free from these three stages of the material concept, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, the guru, and follow the disciplines and regulative principles of devotional life.
Entonces, para poder lograr esto, hay que tomar refugio total del maestro espiritual fidedigno y seguir la disciplina que éste indica, siguiendo los principios de la vida espiritual.
So now Prabhupada is starting to explain this word bhava, because in this verse it says in the last line, mad bhavam, you get the transcendental love, and you find this is expressed in a nutshell verses of Gita that let's see, 10. I'm thinking of like in the 10th chapter, we have the nutshell verses where 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know, because the first one is 8, and you see this word Buddha, the last line, Buddha Bhava Samanditaha. Buddha Bhava Samandita, with great attention. So great attention, Bhava. This is a stage. And Prabhupada's getting to this. Mad Bhavam is Adhigachati is also used in the 14th chapter. When one understands, Krishna says that the modes of nature are acting and there's nothing to do with them, you can reach this Bhava, Mad Bhavam, my Bhava. You attain the same nature as me.
Entonces el Mad Bhava que Prabhupada hace referencia, bueno, que está mencionado aquí al final del texto, es una etapa que se alcanza cuando uno se libera de estas
So now
obstáculos.
Prabhupada's going to quote the Nectar Devotion at Rupa Goswami, where he has a very important verse. Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhasangata Bhajana Kriya Tato Nakta Nivadisha Tato Nishta. All the gradations leading up to Bhava and Prema.
Entonces Prabhupada cita en el significado este verso del Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu de Srila Rupa Goswami y detalla las diferentes etapas hasta alcanzar Bhava y la autorrealización.
And so this is always a very important verse. Ado means in the beginning, Shraddha. And Shraddha, we know the definition of Shraddha means Shraddha Sabde Vishwas Kois. It's given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the definition that if one has faith, and actually this word means also enthusiasm, eagerness, attention, also Shraddha. It's not just simple blind faith, but it's very more detailed word. Shraddha.
Entonces esta palabra Shraddha no es simplemente fe, sino que tiene una palabra bien amplia que indica que uno debe tener entusiasmo y deseo.
Like it says there that Shadadana Munayo in the first canon, Shadadana Munayo Ganabhayagya Pashanti Atmi Chatmanam, that one has to have this, but this faith means that one has also learning. One cannot develop it without, it's described there. Bhakya Shruta, he has to have heard the Shruti, the Shastras, then he gets the faith. Bhakya Shruta Grahitaya. And so the definition given by Kaviraj Goswami is Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Koi Sudhir Destroy Krishna Bhakti Kole Sarvakami. That if one thinks, if I only do bhakti yoga, I don't have to worry about anything else. Everything else is accomplished. I don't need to do anything else.
Entonces, la definición dada amplia de esta palabra lo que indica es que si uno se ocupa en bhakti yoga, simplemente, pues uno no tiene que hacer nada más. Esa es la fe que uno debe tener.
We find in the end of the 8th chapter where the last verse of the 8th chapter, and Prabhupada said this verse is a summary of the 7th chapter and the 8th chapter. Vedeshu yageshu tapashu chaiva daneshu yat punya palam tradishtam atyati sarvam idam viditayu vishtam palam paitichad. A person who accepts the path of bhakti, devotional service, is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Veda, doing tapasya, and or giving charity, or doing any kind of philosophical or fruitive activity. Simply by performing devotional service, he attains all of them. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode. So,
entonces, en el final del 8º capítulo, que es un resumen del 7º y 8º, en el verso Prabhupada explica que alguien que se ocupa en servicio devocional obtiene también los beneficios de hacer austeridades, caridad y obtiene el resultado final, la suprema.
When and one time in New Vrindavan in 1976, some devotees were talking to Prabhupada in the conversation you can hear. So they were saying how many of these yoga Mayavadis, they say you don't need guru, or you are the guru, or so many, Prabhupada said, nonsense things, ideas. But so Prabhupada was asking like them, how will you defeat them? Which verses will you say to them? And they were giving different verses, but Prabhupada didn't accept so many verses.
Entonces, en una ocasión en New Vrindavan, en 1976, algunos devotos estaban hablándole a Srila Prabhupada y mencionaban como algunos yogis y trascendentalistas decían que uno mismo es el guru y que no necesita a nadie más. Entonces Prabhupada preguntó, bueno, ¿y cómo ustedes derrotarían ese planteamiento? Y los devotos dieron diferentes versos, pero Prabhupada no estaba satisfecho.
But Prabhupada quoted this verse from these 4 nutshell verses, very important verses, 10 chapter of the Gita. That's 8, 9, 10, and 11. So he quoted these verses, especially he quoted the 10th verse, that they're saying this, you know, your guru, or you don't need guru, or you can know God other ways. But Prabhupada said, no, they're nonsense. So all the verses, and they were quoting Bhagavad Gita also, but Prabhupada was looking for this particular verse right here. This is the 10:10. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam piti purvakam tadami buddhiyogam tam yenamam, which means to those who are constantly devoted and serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So the Buddha yoga.
Entonces,
Yeah.
Entonces, los devotos citaron diferentes versos, pero en realidad Prabhupada estaba buscando este verso en particular, el 10:10 del Bhagavad Gita, donde dice Krishna dice, aquellos que están constantemente consagrados a servirme con amor, yo les doy la inteligencia mediante la cual pueden venir a mí.
So all these empiricists and my bodies, they're saying that, but probably they are not Tatata Yuktanam, which Krishna is saying is the prerequisite. You have to have this type of always engaged. I mean, Satata Yuktanam and Priti Purvakam, which means loving ecstasy. Then he gives the knowledge, the Dami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Then otherwise, no. They're just speaking something, but we always stick to Bhagavad Gita.
Entonces, esto es lo que dice Krishna, ¿verdad? Que es al que está constantemente consagrado y sirviéndole con amor a Krishna.
Then you
Entonces,
can attain, says, Mam Upayanti, say, the last line. Yena Mam Upayanti, say. The Upayanti means they come to me, they attain my nature like that. So this is all, so many Bhagavad Gita verses are connected. You know, it's very amazing when you see, because the word bhavam is there in that verse, kuta mad bhavam in today's verse, and in these verses also you see this word bhavam and buddhi, and then it comes related again to this verse. And so if you take one verse, everything's there. If you take more verses, more is there. Bhagavad Gita is perfect, more perfect, and ever expandingly perfect.
Entonces podemos ver cómo estas palabras están interconectadas y cómo cada verso del Bhagavad Gita es perfecto, y si toma más versos, pues hay más perfección. Y él se refiere en particular a aquí donde dice Buddhi y o sea, cómo vienen a mí, ¿verdad?
So then we come back to here, to this Rupa Goswami's verse. And again, this word Shraddha, there's a wonderful verse in the third canto, I think fifth chapter. Shraddha Danasha, maybe it's the sixth chapter. They use this word. Shraddha Danasha Vivardhamana, Virakti Manyati. If one has this enthusiasm, Virakti, which means detachment, he gets it automatically. Anyatra karoti phongsham. But he, by getting the enthusiasm, thinking of Krishna's lotus feet especially, he gets enthusiasm, and virakti, he gets virakti, means detachment automatically without any separate endeavor, just by being enthusiastic. But it's not just faith, okay, like that. No, it's enthusiasm. It's like that. So probably gives the definition of Shraddha as eagerness. You have to be eager.
Entonces, volviendo al verso del significado del Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, ¿verdad? El Shraddha se refiere al entusiasmo. Entonces, por pensar con entusiasmo, apegarse a los pies del loto de Krishna, entonces uno recibe la perfección, pero debe uno tener el entusiasmo.
So these stages that are given in this verse, we don't, even though the first stage is there, but they keep building. And then if you get sadhu sangha, you become more enthusiastic, more eager by getting sadhu sangha. And then by doing the bhajana kriya means the sadhana. Just like Prabhupada said, without the morning program, you have no devotional life. You know, like you need that juice. So we don't give up Shraddha and then go there. No, we keep Shraddha, then we add, we get enthusiasm, then you become more enthusiastic, then you get more association. one thing increases the next. This is anandam buddhi vardhanam, increasing birth.
Entonces, con el entusiasmo obtenemos más, ¿verdad? Más asociación, más entusiasmo, más actividades y finalmente pues llegamos a la meta.
Just like Rupa Goswami has in his Utsahan Nishya Dalya Tattva Kama Pravartana, he says a similar thing. You have to have enthusiasm, Nishya, determination, and patience. Even though I'm enthusiastic, but if I get enthusiastic, then Tarala, there's some verse, word that Vishnu Chakravarti says, you enthusiastic, and then you give up enthusiasm, but it has to be constant, increasing enthusiasm.
Entonces hay que tener entusiasmo, perseverancia y paciencia.
And patience, determination, and following the rules, a similar thing. Sangha Satovate has to take good association, give up bad association. Kato, then you can come to this north in the vritti, which means anarthas, things that are not needed, you'll give them up automatically, anartha vritti. So the Bhagavatam is meant for that. Anartho Pasam Sakshat Bhakti Yoga Mahoksaje, in the 7th chapter of the first canto, the famous verse that Vyasadeva he's described that Anartha Pashamam Sakshat Bhakti Yoga Mahoksaje, that Vyasadeva is given the Bhagavatam because the people are so foolish in Kali Yuga and they're so attached. Anartha Pashamam Sakshat Bhakti Yoga Mahoksaje. Lokasya Ajanato Vidvam Chakre Satata Samhitam. He has composed this Bhagavatam because people, Lokasya Ajanato, they're ignorant. They don't know anything of their self-realization. So he's given Bhagavatam.
En el primer canto del Bhagavatam, el capítulo 7, se menciona que este Bhagavatam ha sido compuesto porque las personas son ignorantes y no saben qué hacer con sus vidas.
Tato nishta, then one gets nishta. Like we hear this word kanishta and nishta, but kanishta, like Adhikari means he doesn't have this steadiness, kanishta. He doesn't come means like without nishta. And then if you get to that point, nishta, then you can develop ruchi. It's not like exactly one comes in the other, but when you get ruchi, then you get more nishta, and you get more shraddha, you get more like that. They're all increasing one after another like this. So then the Atha Shakti Stato Bhava, then when finally he gets a Shakti means attachment. As it says here, he begins the process, he becomes free from all attachment, he attains steadiness, he acquires a taste, and this taste leads to further attachment, asakti, and this attachment gives us bhava. Then we can come to bhava stage, it says here in these verses, and then finally prema, which that's the highest stage. Prema pumarto mahan, that Lord Chaitanya has given the. This is the goal of the 5th goal, Panchama Purushartha. The 5th goal of life is prema. Okay.
Entonces, este gusto lo lleva uno más adelante en el apego por la conciencia de Krishna, que madura hasta volverse bhava, o la etapa preliminar del amor trascendental por Dios.
Okay, we read that. So the taste leads to bhava, or the preliminary stage, and then prema. Okay. In the prema stage, there is a constant engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. So by slow process of devotional service under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master. So like when we see Prabhupada, we don't really have any idea how he comes to the stage. We're just like, we shouldn't think that we're gonna. Prabhupada's always giving enthusiasm. He's, when we chant Gayatri, then some of those lines they say, Patrodiat means that you're becoming enthused. So one is inspired. You see the guru, you should be inspired. Like Lord Chaitanya answered the Satyaraj Khan in one answer that he asked him, "Why do we know it is a Vaishnava?" He said, if by seeing the person, you immediately start chanting. And like Prabhupada immediately start chanting. He chant very enthusiastic.
Es tal como uno ve a Prabhupada, uno no puede ni imaginarse cómo él está en este estado de bhava, pero Chaitanya Mahaprabhu nos indica cómo uno sabe, ¿verdad? Y Chaitanya dice, el Señor Chaitanya dice que si uno ve a la persona que se encuentra en este estado, inmediatamente uno empieza a cantar Hare Krishna. Y uno puede experimentar eso como con Prabhupada, ese es el caso.
Like when Prabhupada was getting his sannyasa initiation, one of his godbrother, Krishna, Kinchana Krishna, Babaji, he was singing. If you heard any recording of him, there's about 3-4 hours of him singing. He was very enthusiastic for chanting. And Prabhupada said he was a Paramahansa. But during the sannyasa initiation, there was some devotees were chanting. Actually, Narayan Maharaj was chanting. And so Prabhupada's sannyas guru is Keshav Pragan. He wanted to stop the chanting. He put his hand like this. Okay, we're going to do the yajna now. But Prabhupada behind kept saying, no. He was contradicting his own sannyas guru. He was telling them to keep chanting.
Algo interesante es durante la iniciación de sannyas de Srila Prabhupada, el hermano espiritual de Prabhupada que hizo la ceremonia, que es Maharaj, él le indicó a los hermanos espirituales que estaban cantando vayan, le indicó ya ahora vamos a iniciar la ceremonia. Y Prabhupada les señaló, no, sigan cantando. Entonces, graciosamente Prabhupada estaba ahí contradiciendo a su guru de sannyas.
So later, when Krishna's Babaji was talking to some godbrother, Prabhupada disciples, he said, I knew that your guru would spread this Krishna consciousness all over the world because he was so enthusiastic for chanting and spreading this Harinam. Like that, he said, I knew he could do that.
Entonces, Kesava Maharaj en otro momento, posteriormente, cuando estaba hablando con algunos discípulos de Prabhupada y hermanos espirituales, les dijo, yo sabía que el gurú de ustedes, él iba a esparcir el canto de Hare Krishna por todo el mundo porque él tenía mucho entusiasmo por el canto del Mahamantra.
Krishna's Babaji said that.
Krishna Babaji.
No, Keshav Pragyan, he left his body in 68. The only devotee I ever knew who met him was Achyutananda. Most devotees, maybe there's one other, but only Achyutananda met him one time that I heard. I don't think anyone else from ISKCON met him. Anyway.
Puskar nos recuerda que Kesava Maharaj abandonó el cuerpo en el 68 y piensa que solamente Achyutananda fue que lo conoció de ISKCON, nadie más.
Okay, so Prabhupada ended the purport when we can attain the abode of the Supreme. So, tapus tapas te Jehubu Shashna Arya. This verse with Devahuti is offering prayers to Kapila Deva is very famous. He's saying even a dog eater, he becomes as good as a Brahmana by chanting Hare Krishna.
Entonces, en un verso de Bahuti hablándole a su madre, de Kapila Deva hablándole a su madre de Bahuti, él cita que hasta un perro que cante Hare Krishna puede purificarse y alcanzar la perfección.
But this verse says something similar, that it says that many persons in the past became purified, and thus they attained Jnana Tapasa by penance. That means they already, but that Dave Hoodie's saying that if someone is chanting, even if he's a dog eater right now, it's understood that he has already done all that. He may have by some weird karma, he might be born a dog eater, but if he gives that up, and he can become purified. It's understood that he already did all the tapasya, tepus, tapas, tejahu, and all other things. He did all the purificatory things. There's no need of any preliminary thing. Like the Hindus, the smarters, they think that even if you become a devotee or if you are a Westerner, then you should have to die again. You have to, but you know, it's true. We may have to take many births, but not because they say it. Prabhupada said, no, they have to take many births also. Anyway,
entonces, en
understood you already did all these things.
En este verso, que es muy similar al que dice, al que cita de Bahuti, queda claro que aunque uno haya nacido como un yávana, ¿verdad? En Occidente, una familia de comedores de carne, el hecho de que uno se ocupa en el canto del Santo Nombre indica que ya uno ha hecho previamente, en vidas anteriores, muchas austeridades y que no es como los Smarta Brahmanas dicen, que todavía uno tiene que nacer de nuevo en India para continuar, sino que ya uno ha hecho todos esos sacrificios antes. Aunque es posible por nuestro karma que tengamos que nacer muchas veces más, pero no por esa razón, no necesitamos nacer en India ni nada de eso, sino que el que estemos en este proceso indica que ya hemos hecho muchos sacrificios antes.
And in the 5th chapter, you have this famous verse also, Bahunam Janmanamanti Gyanamam Prabhadite, Vasudev Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurava. Let's see, it's, I think, 19. So that verse, no, it's, I'm completely wrong here. But this verse, it might be in Bhavanam Janmanamanti Gyanamam Prabhadite. Maybe it's a different chapter. After many births, then after so much gyan, as described here, Gyana Tapasam, Bahunam means many, many births. You have Bahunam Janmanamante. Ante means those births are finished lives. So we don't know how many. We may have been studying Shastra. We have no idea really. But so Krishna is saying Bahunam Janmanam Gyanavam, then he's a Gyanavam, means he possesses Gyan. So Bahunam Janmanam Gyanam Prabhupada, then he surrendered. So Prabhupada said, why are you waiting so many births? Right now you can surrender. Don't Krishna saying after many births? Vasudev, you will realize that Krishna is everything. Vasudev, Sarvam, Vasudev is everything. Actually, Vasudev means one who is like the super soul, or who's, you know, everywhere, everything. So you will realize that after many births of studying the Shastras.
Entonces aquí Krishna menciona cómo las personas después de muchas vidas estudiando las Shastras, entonces se purifican y realizan que Krishna es el Supremo. Entonces Prabhupada dice, ¿por qué esperar muchos nacimientos? Tú puedes rendirte inmediatamente.
So Prabhupada said, why you want to wait so many lifetimes? It's actually in the 7th chapter. Why you want to wait so many lifetimes? And then you'll become a Mahatma, Samahatma Sudurlabha. It's very difficult, Sudurlabha, very hard. So Bahusambhavante in the 11th, in the Bhagavatam, many lives will go by, you'll get to that point. So why waste all that time and go through so many births and rebirths? Rather to take it up right now, Prabhupada said.
Entonces Prabhupada decía así, o sea, ¿por qué esperar tantos nacimientos para después volverse un Mahatma estudiando las Shastras cuando tú puedes hacerlo ahora mismo?
And what is the characteristic Mahatma? Tumam Parta Daiving Prakriti Mahashi. We have the same word, Upashita, so that Mahatma, he's under the full shelter of the supreme spiritual energy, Daivin Prakti Mahashita. So that's you can see connections with so many words and verses in the Gita. That's why when sometimes we hear have to do with the verse and from all around the Gita. It's amazing thing.
Entonces, aquí vemos cómo todas estas palabras hacen referencia a otros versos del Gita, y es sorprendente como cuando uno escucha una clase del Gita de Prabhupada, cómo él puede citar tantos otros versos que están conectados con el verso del que él está hablando.
So Prabhupada also says in this purport, the slow process of devotional service. But slow means, we don't know what slow means. It can, Prabhupada said, in one moment, you can become Krishna conscious, or it may take millions, and like it says, Bahonam Janma, or it may be slow, it may be fast, but it's up to us. Yeyatamam Bhajante, Tam Tataya Bhajamyaham. I think this is coming up.
Entonces, Prabhupada dice aquí en el significado, ¿verdad? De modo que mediante el lento proceso del servicio devocional, bajo la guía del maestro espiritual genuino, uno puede alcanzar la máxima etapa. Entonces hay que pensar, bueno, ¿y qué es lento? Porque Prabhupada también dice que en un instante tú puedes alcanzar la perfección. Entonces, lo que realmente quiere decir es que depende de uno. Puede ser muy rápido o muy lento.
Like one time I was in Mayapur in 74 also, and I was painting the doors on Prabhupada's floor on the Lotus building. We painted most of the doors. I think some of them are still there. They got very faded now. And me and this big tall English guy, we were painting. So Prabhupada came around one day in the morning. We would see him sometimes. So he walked around the veranda, around the whole building. And I was painting on one door. I was copying one picture of Krishna Balaram jumping off a mountain. And Prabhupada stopped and he said, "Oh, how long this is taking you?" And so I was paying attention to Prabhupada asked me, "How long did this take, this painting?"
Entonces, tal como en una ocasión en Mayapur en el 1974, el Prabhu y otro devoto inglés estaban pintando las puertas del edificio del Loto. Entonces, Prabhupada estaba caminando por el balcón, por la veranda que rodea el edificio, y se paró y se acercó y le preguntó, ¿cuánto tiempo te está tomando pintar todo esto?
So there was nobody there. I mean, the other artist, I don't think he was there even. He was painting the other side of the veranda, but I don't remember. I was the only one there. So I paid a basis, and Prabhupada asked me how long this took. I said, "Prabhupada, I'm so slow. I think it might have taken 6 days, or, like that." I said, "I'm very slow." And Prabhupada said, and Prabhupada was in a gumshi, or maybe he didn't have any shirt on. So he was very relaxed, In Mayapur, he used to be so relaxed. He said, "How long it took you? How long did it take?" And I said, "I'm so slow." And Prabhupada said, "Slowly but surely," like that. Slowly but surely. And then he just kept walking, chanting japa.
Entonces, cuando Prabhupada le preguntó cuánto tiempo te tomó todo esto, el Prabhu estaba solo ahí, el otro devoto que estaba pintando estaba quizá al otro extremo del edificio, y Prabhupada se encontraba vestido solo quizás con su gancha, no tenía kurta ni nada en la parte de arriba, estaba bien relajado. Y el Prabhu le dijo, "Oh, yo soy tan lento que me ha tomado mucho tiempo, quizás unos 6 días. Y Prabhupada le dijo, bueno, lento pero con certeza, eso es lo importante. Y siguió entonces cantando su yapa y se fue.
So we're not after like this. Raga also means like describe, there's attachment. Rajo Ragatmakam Vidhi Krishna Sangha Samudbhavam. All the details are given in the 14th chapter of the Gita. What is raga? What is attachment? If you see the 14th chapter, like this word raga is explained in very good detail. like let's see, you know, like for Rajoragatmakam Vidhi, Trishna means thirsting, always want something more. I have to get something more. Probably call this a disease. I need another thing. And they're always trying to sell you a new car. You have 2020 car. It's not you. You should get 2021. We give you this now special thing. You know, people are buying. Oh, every year they're buying so many things. Krishna means thirst.
Entonces, más posteriormente en el Bhagavad Gita se explican todas estas cosas, que es el raga, ¿verdad? El apego. Y es como ese deseo que uno tiene siempre de obtener algo nuevo, como cuando siempre te están vendiendo un carro nuevo, el último modelo, y uno tiene ese deseo así de siempre de estar buscando algo novedoso.
So this chapter is very nice when you want to find out about that, about this raga. So ragatmakam, born of lust. This definition of ragatmakam means born of lust. And it says, so the definition says, mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings. And because of this, yeah, go ahead.
Esto viene, ¿verdad? Nace de la lujuria y es el deseo ilimitado de obtener cosas materiales.
So one has to get free, but here it says it binds one, nibadnati, binding, like the knots, like the modes of nature. They're like also compared to ropes, and they bind one to this material world. Karma samgena, fruit of activity. So
entonces estos deseos materiales te atan a este mundo material.
And then again, the mode of passion is described that Raja Sattvam, Tamas Chaiva, Tamas. These modes are always fighting with each other. Sometimes you can be more in the mode of goodness, sometimes Raja Kamini Bharata. So when there's Raja mode, Raga attachment, then one is always striving for something, never satisfied, he's very attached to what he has.
Entonces, cuando uno está siempre buscando algo, motivado por las modalidades de la naturaleza material, entonces uno nunca está satisfecho, siempre está detrás de algo novedoso, de algo nuevo.
So this word Krishna, you see that Prabhupada used this verse is the fourth verse of the 10th canto, where it says, Nivrittata shad upagiyamana bhavoshara chotamana brahma. In the beginning of the Krishna book, he took this verse from 10th canto, first chapter, fourth verse. That when one is nivrittata shad, means the thirst for the material thing is finished, then he can understand Bhagavatam. Bhavo, then he can take this medicine, Bhavo, Oshadi, Bhavo, Oshadi, Chottamano. It's then it becomes very pleasing for the ear. But if one, of course, Rupa Goswami said medicine in the beginning, if you have sickness, then it's not going to taste good. But ultimately it will uproot your material desires. If you keep taking that medicine, you have to keep taking the medicine. You can't stop taking the medicine.
Entonces, en el 10º canto, en el mismo primer capítulo, el verso 4, Prabhupada explica que cuando uno se libera de estos apegos materiales, entonces en ese estado uno puede escuchar el Bhagavatam con mucho placer y puede entonces liberarse de todas estas ataduras.
This Krishna word is also used by Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it's described that Krishna Chirampatalambate. He's always thirsting after Krishna, constantly. They can't get enough of Krishna. Like Sikh Goswamis, they're saying, "Where's Krishna? Hey Radhe, where's Radharani? Hey Radhe, Vijay Ke Chalalite." Never quite satisfied. So the material world is not never, of course, satisfying. But even spiritually, one can increase. In the material sense, he's not satisfied. He gets miserable. But when he's not satisfied with Krishna, he's getting Krishna because he's constantly looking for Krishna. Hey, where's Krishna? Is he here? Is he there? They're running all over Vrindavan. And they're dancing and writing so many things all about Krishna. They never. But this type of this is the antidote, the medicine for the material hankering.
Entonces, así como hay ese deseo constante de obtener cosas en el mundo material y te vuelve y es frustrante, esa misma palabra se usa para describir el deseo de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu por encontrar a Krishna y a Srimati Radharani, como él está siempre ansioso por encontrar a Krishna. Solo que en el sentido espiritual no es frustrante, sino que te incrementa el deseo del amor por Dios y de avanzar en la vida espiritual.
Okay, so we're going to get to the questions, or you tell me.
Okay, so now he's ready for questions. Ya le está listo para preguntas. ¿Quién tiene una pregunta?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, por favor acepte mi más humilde y respetuosa obediencia. Gracias por bendecirnos con su presencia.
So,
Haribo.
Tengo varias preguntas que surgen.
La primera, ¿no?
No, Nityananda. Producto de su explicación de producto de la explicación del Prabhu, Su Gracia Puskar Prabhu, de la explicación del verso, en las dos últimas dos líneas que él explicó el Bhagavad Gita Pasó y el Puttamat Bhavan Agata, me surge la primera pregunta. ¿Qué diferencia práctica podemos ver nosotros entre Bhava y Prema?
So the Prabhu, he wants to know what's the difference for us between like Bhava and Prema.
Well, you know, Prabhupada said this comes first. It's preliminary. Bhava. Bhava has so many meanings. The word Bhava you can use. It means his nature here, but Prabhupada is also using it in the term of Bhava, meaning a stage of Bhava. Like sometimes Prabhupada told some devotees they had Bhava. Like Prabhupada said Jamuna had Bhava, you know, feeling. You know, it doesn't mean that, but it means, or Bhardraj and some other musicians, he said that they have the feeling they're able to create this feeling in other people as well. That means you have a feeling for something, you know, feelings at different types of bhava. We have that word like anubhava, vibhava, satvika bhava. When all these bhavas come together, sanchari bhavas, and this is very nice. It's described like you know, condensed yogurt with or condensed milk yogurt mixed with black pepper and honey and sugar and camphor, and it becomes very tasteful. And so, and there's four types of bhava: chari bhav, not chamo bhuvam. This in the first in Adi Leela is described that I've come to give all these bhavas, these four bhavas of. That means not just neutrality, but the Sakya Bhav, or and servant Dasha, and Sakya, and the parental Bhava, and then of course the Madhuri Bhava, but especially the Madhuri Bhava that Ona Tojvala Sam Sabakti Shri Yam Hari Purta Sundar, that Mahaprabhu, just by meditating on Mahaprabhu, Yata Yata Gora Padara Vendate Bhakti, the Saraswati, he's also saying that by just worshiping Lord Gora, then automatically, naturally, you develop Radha Krishna Bhava. Because when you're studying Gora and chanting all the time, what's he doing? He's only meditating on Radha Krishna. So there's a certain class of devotees they were developing, and still they only worship Gora, but they don't worship Radha Krishna. But that's not what Gora, Lord Chaitanya is trying to propagate. But he is so powerful, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya, that just meditating on his activities, his teachings, and one evolves into this bhava, this without separate endeavor. But there's still a group that only thinks they'll only worship Lord Chaitanya. They don't care about Radha Krishna. But that's not. It's great, but it's not what he is pushing there. So these chari means 4 bhavas. Lord Chaitanya said, "I've come to give these 4 bhavas to make the world dance." The 3 worlds, not Jammu. They will dance in ecstasy in the 4 bhavas. But so automatically these other bhavas are coming. But especially Unato Ujjala Rasa means this Madhuri Bhava, means Radha Krishna, Gopi Bhava. Gopi Bhava Rasamrita Dalahari Kalola Magno. So that Bhava is there, but they still call it Bhava. So you see the word Bhava is used for means a state of being. It could mean, but it means different things in different contexts here, there, like that. It means something different, slightly different, like the Anubhavi Bhav. Or it can just mean being, in general, without anything like the love of God, like that. So, but in the context of here, then it means, well, prema means that one is much more advanced, prema, you're completely in ecstasy. Bhava means, you have some ecstasy, but you're not complete. But it can also mean one of those relationships, sthai bhavs, your eternal relationship, or those other like anubhavas, which are composed of, udipan, like that, where you get a stimulation from seeing something, like seeing a pure devotee, or seeing a peacock feather, or seeing Krishna's murti, or chanting. So, but chanting, described, that gives everything is getting from Sarva Siddhi. You get all perfection just by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Anyway, Nija Sarva Shakti, all the power of it in that chanting, and so in the context, this word bhava has so many meanings, but in this verse, this bhava means that you're establishing your bhava with Krishna.
Dear Prabhu.
Yeah.
Déjame traducir algo ahí. Entonces, él dijo que Prabhupada explica que bhava viene primero y prema posteriormente. Y que hay diferentes, bhava quiere decir deseo, atracción. Y hay diferentes tipos de bhavas. Y en particular Chaitanya Mahaprabhu menciona que él vino y trajo estos 4 bhavas, ¿verdad? Para hacer todos los 3 mundos cantar y vibrar para obtener finalmente, ¿verdad? Krishna Prema. Y bueno, él dio muchas explicaciones, mencionó por nombre diferentes tipos de bhavas, y finalmente después del bhava viene el Krishna Prema, el Prema, que es el amor. Entonces iba a empezar una explicación del Prema.
Just like they say there's 11 Ekadas Bhava. This is what the Babajis, they're teaching, people but the people are not really established ready for this thing, but they tell them to meditate like on their gopi form and what their clothes they wear and what their seva is and who the parents are and like that, what they look like. It's called 11 different things. And so, but it's artificial, it's like going in to the room, and if you're not pregnant and you go into the room, the hospital room, and you make noises like, this is what Gorkishore Das Babaji said, like you go in the room and you make noise, oh! Like you're making, like you're having baby, but you're not actually, you're a man or you have no baby. So it's artificial, Yeah. So you don't reach Baba like that. That we don't recommend, but naturally there's a natural flow of that. So this is why it's given here. This is general outline of it, but so we have
Entonces,
yeah.
El Baba es algo que viene de forma natural, no se debe tratar de llegar hasta ahí de forma artificial, como a veces ocurre. Hay devotos que se acercan a estos babajis, brindaban, que les explican y les indican, medita en tu forma espiritual, a esto, aquello. Entonces dice que Gorkishore Das Babaji indica que eso es como tú ponerte una barriga de tela debajo de la ropa e ir al hospital y fingir que estás embarazada y que vas a dar a luz. Tú puedes gritar y fingir que tienes dolor y todo, y es un show externo, pero en realidad tú no estás sintiendo nada, sino que tú tienes que, mediante el canto del santo nombre, esperar que todo esto venga de forma natural.
Like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he many times quoted one song. It's in Bhaktivinoda songbook, Sharanagati. It's the last song. I got so many songs, number 40 something. And it's called Koto Bao, Harinam, Koto Bao. How much power is in the holy name? And in that song, he's speaking how the holy name enters the ear, it dances on your tongue, it goes into the heart, and gradually it blossoms out in like a flower, and then it takes you to Vrindavan, and it gives you your spiritual body like that. Just by that chanting. I can tell you the song.
Entonces él dice que en el libro Sharanagati, en la última canción, habla de cómo tú puedes progresivamente llegar hasta esa etapa, ¿verdad? De forma natural.
Let me show the song.
Él va a buscar el cancionero. Tiene ahora. ¿Dónde está llamando? Okay. Yo mismo.
Okay, so here we have the song, and this songbook has all the many famous songs, like Bulia Toma and Vaishnava Thakur, Daya Sagar, Dasakor. Anyway, so when you get up to near the end, you have this song, and I think it's the very last song. And okay, it says, I'll just read the last, because it has the word prema here. There's 8 verses, big verses, not short ones, Bengali. So the 6th one, it says, Premera Kalikana Adbhuta Raskiradha Heno Bal Korea Prakash Ishal Pikashi Puna Dekani Jurupaguna Chita Kori Loy Krishna Pa. The holy name is the bud of the flower of divine love. So the holy name is the bud of the flower of prema. The translating?
Which song is it again?
Oh, it's the last one. The final song in Sharanagati songbook. You have the whole songbook?
Yeah.
Okay, the very
The
last.
Nama Mahatmya?
No, this is the whole song Sharanagati songbook. There's 40 songs in it, I think.
Yeah, I have the Sharanagati and Gita Valley.
Right. Okay, so it is called Nama Mahatmya.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that's the same song. So it's long, but at least when we get to the word prema in the 6th verse, he's explaining how the relationship of prema with the holy name, which is interesting. You know this. So it is the holy name is the bud of the flower. The prema kalika nam. Adbhuta means is amazing, abode, wonderful mellows of rasa. And how much strength there is, he says. Such is the power, so much power in it. Heno bol korya prakash. He displays his power only slightly in the beginning. Ishat means slightly. Ishat vikashi puna. Dekaya. Even by that slight thing, Dekaya Nijarupaguna. He reveals his own divine form and qualities, and he steals my heart. Chitta means steals the mind, the heart. Krishna pas, and he takes you to Krishna just by chanting. So,
okay. Entonces, en esta canción del Sri Nama Mahatmya, en la sexta estrofa, Bhaktivinoda Thakur nos explica que el santo nombre es como el botón de la flor de amor divino y es la misma morada de sabores asombrosos. Tal es el poder que él manifiesta que cuando su santo nombre empieza a florecer un poquito, tan solo un poquito, se revela la forma divina y las cualidades de Krishna. Y de esta manera mi corazón es secuestrado y tomado directamente y llevado directamente a Cristo.
So then, the 7th verse.
Entonces, esa estrofa describe el prema.
Yeah, so the purna means full. Then vikashita, when it becomes full, which is the next verse, what happens? Then he describes it. When it's fully manifest, then it takes me to Braj, to Vrindavan, and reveals me his own love. Then he gives my form, my eternal body, and he keeps me near Krishna, completely destroys the mortal frame. The name of Krishna is a touchstone, Harinama Chintamani, Akila Rasarya Kani, is the mind of all the rasas. So that's very instructive. Bhaktisiddhanta, he would always quote this, this is our final answer to those who say we have to just meditate on gopi form. No, he's saying the holy name is what you need. That's all.
Entonces, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, él citaba este siguiente verso que voy a leer, que dice que cuando el santo nombre florece por completo, la flor del santo nombre me lleva a Braja, a Vrindavan, y me revela su propia relación amorosa. Este nombre me da mi cuerpo espiritual propio y me mantiene a la derecha, ahí justo al lado de Krishna, y completamente destruye todo lo relacionado con este cuerpo material mío. Es decir, que es el santo nombre quien nos va a dar el prema y nuestra identidad espiritual. No hay que hacer ningún proceso artificial, ni meditar en las gopis, ni nada de eso. Eso mediante el santo nombre.
Of course, that's all explained also, in the Jaiva Dharma, all this details also he gives it. But in some places, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I don't give many details because nobody's really qualified to hear so many details, but he, even though he has so many things, he still says, I don't give more because nobody's qualified for that.
Entonces, Bhaktisiddhanta explica esto en otras escrituras.
Bhaktivinoda says in the Bhajana Rahasya, he gives Rahasya means a secret bhajan that he does, but still he says, I'm giving you so many things, but I don't give more because people are not qualified for more. It means that if you want more, then you have to be very, very advanced.
Entonces, Bhaktivinoda también dice lo mismo. Ellos ambos dan algunos detalles y aclaran. Yo puedo dar más información, pero ustedes no están preparados. No, ustedes no están avanzados así. Entonces, solamente estoy tocando esto de forma superficial. O sea, que hay que tener claro que estos temas son muy avanzados y si el gurú mismo dice que no estamos listos, pues no hay...
Krishna Thakurji says that someone who has prema, the first qualification is he doesn't think he has prema. Na prema gandosti darapi maharo. He's quoting there Lord Chaitanya speaking. I don't have any prema. Lord Chaitanya says, I don't have prema. I'm like an insect. So Lord Chaitanya is saying like it.
Entonces, Krishna Das Kaviraj cita al Señor Chaitanya diciendo que la primera cualificación de alguien que tiene prema es que dice, no, yo no tengo ningún prema y se siente tan pequeño como un insecto.
Okay.
Y ahí está tu pregunta, Mukunda. ¿Alguien más?
The only thing we can do is we can Bhaktivinoda has hundreds of songs, like, you know, we can remember them, chant them, and
Gracias.
Entonces, para nosotros en nuestro nivel, lo que podemos es cantar estas canciones de Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Y ya.
Como es un poco tarde, yo voy a hacer una pregunta, tal vez, no sé, pero bueno.
Adelante.
Para la condición caída nuestra, para que se diera esta condición tan caída, ¿cuál fue de la contaminación primero? ¿La envidia o la lujuria? ¿Cuál de estas dos contaminaciones entró primero en nosotros?
Okay. So, Yogavid, he wants to know, like, due to our fallen condition, he wants to know what entered first in our heart, like envy or lust.
it says there in the 7th chapter of the Gita, Itcha Dvesha, another way of saying it, you know, something Dandamahina Bharata, that we're born with the Dvesha means hatred or envy, and Itcha means desire. So Raga means desire, Kama means desire, Raga means attachment. But so you were born with that, you know, everyone in the material world. So the combination is there. But then there's, of course, one gets angry if he's frustrated, if he's too passionate. He can't get something, he gets angry. So they come after that. But there it says, Itcha means desire and hatred, envy.
Entonces, él nos dice que aquí mismo en el 7º capítulo del Bhagavad Gita explica que uno nace con todas esas cosas. Todo el que está en el mundo material nace con esas cosas en el corazón.
You know, like when the sons, the 6 sons of Kamsa, of Vasudeva are born, they represent these 6 things, and they have to be cleared out before one can become Krishna conscious. And one is, you know, envy and illusion, and like that, lobha, greed. All those 6 sons, they also represent these 6 things.
Sí,
So there's 6 things also: illusion, envy, madness, illusion, like that.
Sí, el Prabhu nos está recordando de que hay una analogía, ¿verdad? En el 10º canto, de cómo en el corazón hay 6 cosas pecaminosas fundamentales, ¿verdad? Como los 6 demonios del corazón que deben ser eliminados antes de que Krishna pueda entrar y sentarse ahí. y son representadas por los 6 hijos de Vasudeva, que cansa, mata, y después entonces finalmente aparece Cristo.
Just like I was quoting a verse, Kama, Dinam, Katina, Katidami, there's no limit to how much lust, how many desires or lustful desires. Kama, Dinam, Katida. And not only that, they've been going for life after life, giving Dorni days. Just like Bhaktivinoda says, Bhakti Vinod Upadesh, I'm giving good advice, but the senses are giving Dorni days. Just like that Duryodhan, he's Dur Buddhi, wicked mind. He has Buddhi, but it's wicked. So there's Buddhi, but there's Dur Buddhi. That's in the Bhagavad Gita, that's Duryodhan, Dur Buddhi in the first chapter. So there's Dorni days, there's Dur Buddhi, like that. Durukti, bad speech. This Dura means something bad, you know.
Entonces dice, como Bhaktivinoda Thakur explica que él está dando buen consejo, pero la mente da mal consejo. Y en el Bhagavad Gita eso lo representa a Duryodhan, que tiene inteligencia, pero está mal aconsejado.
We have to get rid of that. There's all those things. Kam, Krodh, Adichai. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, 6 things. Adichai, Kam, Krodh, like that. Beginning with Kam and then anger. Kam, Krodh, Adichai. Bhakta Pari said these are like 6 gundas, thugs, gangsters. You know, they take us and Bhakta Pari, they throw us into the ocean of the material world.
Entonces, estos 6 demonios del corazón, ¿verdad? Son como gángsters que te atacan y te golpean y te lanzan al océano del sufrimiento material. Y hay que deshacerse de ellos primero.
Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajaguna. This is Rajaguna. Anyway. Okay, so anything else there?
¿Alguna otra cosa? ¿Alguien tiene algo más?
Sí, gracias. Tengo otra pregunta.
Bueno.
Okay. Adelante, Mukunda.
Ya, gracias, querido. Para considerar a alguien que es un tonto, hay varios puntos a considerar. Alguien puede saber la dirección de un lugar y decide irse quizá por la parte más difícil. Entonces eso es un tonto. O alguien simplemente no sabe por dónde irse y esa escasez de conocimiento lo hace un tonto. Entonces mi pregunta es, ¿por qué, siendo Krishna mismo, el señor Chaitanya, su maestro espiritual, Isarapuri, le llamó tonto?
Okay, so the question is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being Krishna himself, his Guru Maharaj called him a fool.
Well, Lord Chaitanya said it, but you never read that Ishvara Puri never said it. We don't see that anywhere. No one can find that. He just said like that, but Ishvara Puri, we don't. I never saw that in the Chaitanya Bhagavat or the Chaitanya Vidas. You know, most of the pastimes with Ishvara Puri are in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, but I never read that. He said it. But,
Entonces,
if he wants to, if Lord Chaitanya wants to say that he said it, he might have said it, but you don't read it anywhere.
Sí. Entonces el Prabhu explica que en realidad eso es Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, o sea, lo escuchamos de él, que él dice que su maestro le llamó un tonto, pero en realidad en ningún sitio está eso. Quizás, como Mahaprabhu lo dice, ocurrió, pero no hay ninguna evidencia. Probablemente eso no pasó.
He's trying to give lessons to these Mayavadis, you know, that you have to take a actual guru who's going to smash your false ego, not going to puff you up. Just like when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wanted to give Lord Chaitanya, you know, so many lessons in Vedanta or something, you know. First he said, well, why did you take sannyas? You know, sannyasis are the most puffed up guys, you know, they want everyone to bow to them. Like the Mayavadis don't even have an idea of humility, you know. according to Sarvabhauma, he was training up sannyasis. I mean, they would take sannyas, but they weren't funded. But he was a householder, but he was a super genius. You know, they had to go to him to sort of, you know, he was telling Lord Chaitanya, no, the sannyasis, these guys are so puffed up. They think they're Narayan. They think they're God. Even Sarvabhauma knew that, you know. So the idea of sannyasi is not like the Vaishnavas, you know, to become humble. The idea is they're very proud, you know, they have so much knowledge. Dandagahina matrena. As soon as they accept the danda, namo narayana bhavet, then they think they become Narayan. That's all. Anyway.
Entonces, Prabhu nos explica que en realidad Chaitanya Mahaprabhu le estaba dando una lección a los sannyasis impersonalistas, indicándoles que en realidad ellos deberían buscar un guru Vaishnava que les recuerde que ellos son unos tontos y les enseñe humildad, y no un Mayavadi que les haga creer que tan pronto toman la danda son Narayan. Y dice que cuando Mahaprabhu estaba con Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, el Bhattacharya, aunque él era un grihastra, jefe de familia, él era como un instructor para los sannyasis Mayavadis. Ellos iban a que él los enseñara. Entonces él le dijo a Mahaprabhu, oh, estos Mayavadis, sannyasis, desde que agarran la danda ya se creen que son Narayana. ¿Por qué tú tomaste sannyasi? Le pregunta así a Mahaprabhu.
Just like Prabhupada said, you know, in the Mayavadi, they don't, it's not like everyone is a sadhu. No. First, if you want to talk spiritual life, you have to become sannyasi and just study. That's what they were saying to Lord Chaitanya. What are you dancing around for? We heard you're a big pundit, but you're dancing around with all these babukas. You know, they're sentimentalists. And but you're a sannyasi. You're not supposed to be going around with all these people. You know, what are you doing? You know, you're supposed to simply study the Sanskrit and different shastras, and that's it. These three things, dancing, singing, and musical instruments, are forbidden for sannyasi, for their type of sannyasi. They're not, don't do like that.
Entonces los sannyasis personalistas le decían a Mahaprabhu, oh, tú eres un sannyasi y hemos escuchado que tú eres un gran pandit, pero te la pasas asociándote con sentimentalistas, cantando canciones, tocando instrumentos. Tú debes estudiar Vedanta. Entonces estas tres cosas de tocar instrumentos, bailar, cantar, no es para un sannyasi. Tú tienes que dejar eso.
Just like Prabhupada put out this book before all well, there was TLC, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, but then in 1973, he published the Panchatattva in 5 features, Adi 7 chapter, because this chapter he considers so important. So, because the conversation with Prakashananda and all the argument how to defeat the Mayavadi are there. So Prabhupada put that out first before anything else.
Y este tema es tan importante, lo voy a buscar ahora, pero dice que Prabhupada, después que él había publicado las enseñanzas del Señor Chaitanya, en otro momento él publicó el capítulo 7 del Adi Lila, donde están las discusiones entre Prakasananda de Saraswati y el Señor Chaitanya, porque él consideró que eso era muy importante, donde Mahaprabhu derrota ahí a los impersonalistas. Y él fue a buscar ahora el libro ahí en su biblioteca, a ver si lo encuentra rápido.
I don't see it right away. I have so many books here. But anyway, so probably consider, because there's 5 main conversations called Bhashya. There's Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Prakashananda, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Ramananda Samvad. Conversation. Sambadam, this word is used at the end of the Gita, you know, like conversation.
El libro, él no lo localizó rápidamente, pero dice que tiene 5 conversaciones de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu con Prakasananda Saraswati, con Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, con Sanatana Goswami y con Ramananda Rai, que él consideró que eran esenciales.
Yes. So here where he says, Krishna says, someone who studies this conversation, then he worships me with his intelligence.
Entonces, el Señor Chaitanya dice que el que estudia estas conversaciones me adora con su inteligencia.
Right. So this word is used here at the end, especially and also in verse 76. Rajan Sangsmitya Sangsmitya Samvadami Mamadbutam Svarjaneo Punyam Shyami Samahomahu. He says, O king, this is what Sanjaya is telling to Dhritarashtra. King, I repeatedly recall this wondrous and holy dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna. I take great pleasure and thrilled at every moment. Samba, it's a conversation.
Entonces, ahí él citó a Sanjaya cuando le habla a Dhritarashtra y le dice, yo constantemente recuerdo esta conversación, ¿verdad? Entre Krishna y Arjuna y derivo de gran placer al recordarla, ¿verdad?
It's, and on verse 70, Krishna says, I declare, he who studied this sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence.
Entonces, en el verso 70, Krishna dice, yo declaro que el que estudia esta sagrada conversación me adora a mí con su inteligencia.
So that's a very important chapter, Adi 7. And to study that chapter is very good. Anyway,
Entonces,
you can learn all the arguments of Lord Chaitanya, you know, and it's great.
nos recuerda que estudiar el capítulo 7 del Adi Lila es muy importante y ahí uno aprende los argumentos de Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Okay. All right, so we're...
Vamos a tener que terminar. Darle las
Sí.
gracias exclusivamente.
So, yeah, we're going to finish
Hay
here.
muchas cosas
And
pendientes, para volver.
we want to thank you for your wonderful lecture today. Hare Krishna.
Puskar Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Jai,
All
Grigo.
glories to
Gracias,
Srila
Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
Muchas gracias.
Jai, gloria a Nityananda Prabhu ki jai.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias, Prabhu.
Gracias, Prabhu. Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Anda,
Gracias,
muchas gracias a
Prabhu.
todos.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Muchas gracias, Prabhu.
Ah,
Reverencia.
Gracias,
Obedience,
reverencia,
Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Obedience, Prabhu.